Welcome back to the channel, bringing you the latest news from around the world. First of all, subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. I bet you didn't know how one Supreme Court decision could send shockwaves through the entire country. It began with confusion on a November morning in 2025. Dock workers in Long Beach stood idle as container ships sat stranded, their cargo trapped by a sudden legal void. In Detroit, auto factories halted. Tariffs had vanished overnight, but the paperwork hadn't caught up. Phones rang in Washington, but no one had answers. The silence on the docks and in factories signaled a constitutional earthquake. News alerts flashed. The Supreme Court, in a rare unanimous decision, had redrawn the lines of power. Across the country, business owners and farmers faced chaos as trade rules evaporated. The stock market plunged, traders scrambling to grasp the implications. The web of global trade, managed for years by presidential decree, was severed by a single judicial ruling. In the White House, aides rushed to brief a stunned president the executive's power to impose tariffs was gone. The Supreme Court had declared 9-0 that only Congress could tax, including tariffs. The president could no longer act as chief dealmaker on trade without Congress. This was more than a technicality. It was a fundamental reordering of government. Federal agencies and industries were thrown into confusion as decades of precedent vanished. The immediate effect: uncertainty and a scramble for new rules. As the shock wore off, a deeper question emerged. Was this a return to constitutional principles, or a reckless move risking economic chaos? The nation held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The great unanimity decision came from a case few had noticed: New Civil Liberties Alliance versus Trump. The court confronted a simple question: can a president use emergency powers to create a tax? For years, presidents had used emergency authority to impose tariffs, claiming national security. The court, in a stunning 9-0 consensus, said no, a tariff is a tax, and only Congress can tax. The ruling was a thunderclap, stripping the president of a powerful economic weapon and returning it to Congress. All unilateral tariffs were voided overnight, leaving companies and the Treasury scrambling. Importers and exporters were left in limbo. Congress, for the first time in a generation, had to debate and legislate new tariff schedules. The decision was the culmination of the court's effort to rein in executive power. The era of the pen and phone presidency was over. The court had reset the balance. Washington was left to pick up the pieces. The Supreme Court's assertiveness didn't stop at the presidency. It rippled through the states. In Wisconsin, a unanimous ruling protected a religious charity from state interference. But state officials, instead of complying, moved to eliminate exemptions for all religious groups, sparking a new legal battle. Even a unanimous Supreme Court decision wasn't the final word. States found creative ways to resist. The Wisconsin clash showed the messy reality of federalism. The court set standards, but states interpret and enforce them. A ruling meant to expand religious freedom could, in practice, restrict it. As the court redrew lines of power, states rushed to fill the vacuums, sometimes pushing back, sometimes seizing new opportunities. The result: a patchwork of laws and rights, varying dramatically from state to state. The court's quest for clarity at the federal level was leading to confusion and conflict at the state level. Citizens and organizations found themselves caught in the middle. The struggle between federal authority and state resistance was just beginning. The First Amendment became another battleground. In 2024, the court ruled unanimously government officials can't pressure private companies to silence speech. The case involved a New York official allegedly threatening insurers to cut ties with the NRA. The ruling was clear: no backdoor censorship. But in 2025, the FCC chairman's comments about broadcaster licenses reignited the debate. Two major networks refused to air a critical segment. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live. Supporters of the chairman claimed he was advocating for balance. Critics saw government intimidation. The controversy showed how fragile free expression can be, even after a clear Supreme Court ruling. The principle was simple: government can't bully the private sector into suppressing speech. Yet, the boundaries of free speech were being tested in real time. The Supreme Court's unanimous decision split the nation. Supporters saw a restoration of constitutional balance, power returned to Congress, individual liberties protected. They argued the court was ending an era of executive overreach and unaccountable agencies. The confusion, they said, was a small price for long-term health. Critics, however, feared the court was creating chaos, stripping the executive of needed flexibility and risking paralysis. They worried the court was becoming an unelected super legislature, imposing rigid interpretations on a complex world. The free speech and religious rulings, they warned, could shield special interests or enable discrimination. For critics, the court was dismantling functional government, replacing it with instability. The debate raged. Was this a new birth of freedom or the start of dangerous dysfunction? The answer remained uncertain. America stands at a constitutional crossroads. The Supreme Court's bold, unanimous rulings have reset the balance of power. The consequences are everywhere: stalled ships, legal battles, and fierce debates. Supporters see renewal, a return to open debate and limited government. Critics fear a power vacuum and instability. The final verdict won't come from the court, but from the nation itself. Can Congress, the presidency, and the states adapt to this new landscape? The Supreme Court has reset the board. What happens next is up to us.